Welcome back. It's time for Vodka and Juice Boxes. The play date, where the only thing these girls are spilling is their secrets. Sit back, grab yourself a cocktail. We might even make you one here if you show up. And enjoy today's confession session with only one of our young moms and some of her friends here today. Hey, girls. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Hello. I was going to post that we were live, but this is better because we actually are live. Hey, guys. Welcome to Vodka Juice Boxes. So, today our show is on multiples. Paul, thank you for your introduction. You're the most wonderful man. I hope you like your martini.
Wow, the most wonderful. Let me try this, because I'm not a big martini drinker.
know.
What did you put into this one? Go
Well,
through the ingredients, because this doesn't look like a martini to me.
Well, with each guest, I let them, request their preferred cocktail. And Shelby, being a mother of multiples, along with Julie.
Drinks lots of booze then, right?
Well, that would be me, but everyone's wired differently.
It's a secret.
Juliet says, I drink more now as a parent than I ever did, like, as a single, human being.
Really?
Which
Okay.
I believe. I mean, that just makes sense. I have, like, a lot of mornings where
So
I
what's
just
in the
feel bad
booze,
for
though? What's
myself.
in the drink? Tell us the drink before you launch into the show.
So, Shelby requested an espresso martini. She says she needs as much coffee as she can get. So,
Coffee is life.
So today she gave us some fresh espresso from her machine.
Wow.
And we added vodka, of course. And we did a splash of Kahlua and about how many? Let me see.
Little horchata or something.
We added the rum chata to it. Okay, so is it? I'll have to fill you guys in on the website. But I bought this little 3-pack of the samples from Target.
that great source of culinary cuisine here. And fine.
No,
fine
it's such a good
cocktails.
idea, though. I mean, here, I'll hold it up to the camera a little bit, but it's cool because, you don't know how fast you're going to use that bottle. And with
Yeah.
liqueur, especially something somewhat milk product-y, it's going to expire. So we tried. So we did one little miniature bottle of that, and we shook it all together, and it actually made 4 perfect-sized martinis.
Doesn't taste like a martini though anymore to me. It tastes like a coffee drink. I mean, I've
You're a
lost
coffee
I've
drink.
lost the martini.
It's going to
experience.
sneak
Well,
up
it's
on you.
obviously
Wow.
it's not going to be a dirty martini.
Yes.
This is a little bit of business with pleasure.
This is
So-
Business with pleasure. I like
This is my
wow,
first time
okay.
trying the rum chata.
Is
Okay.
it good?
Yeah, it's really
You know,
good.
it tastes like horchata.
Yeah.
If you do like a little bit of like either marshmallow or vanilla vodka, I don't know what this is.
Marshmallow vodka? They don't
Yes,
have marshmallow.
they have
vodka.
marshmallow vodka. They have like Fruit Loop vodka. I don't even know.
Oh
I don't
my
know
God.
what you're gonna do with that,
Everything
but
vodka.
I know. But if you
Everything.
do a marshmallow or vanilla vodka with a horchata, it's very, very deadly. So anyway,
Very deadly. Okay, all right. So today is a deadly topic for me. I can't even imagine these young
I-
moms that are in here today. They're going to talk about multiples, twins, triplets,
Yeah.
quadruplets, quintuplets, sextuplets. Oh my God.
Whoa.
so I have Shelby with me, Shelby Cherry. You have twins.
I do. They
She has-
just turned 1. Yay!
Yes,
It's a
yay.
big milestone.
Boy and a girl. You made it. You made it through the first year. The first year is the hardest. And then we have Julie. Julie has 3. She has triplets.
Oh.
I do have triplets, and they are 4.5. We are
Yeah.
about 5 months from turning 5.
Let's get Julie a little closer there.
Oh,
Julie,
sorry, I said yeah. So we're about 4.5. We're about 5 months from turning 5.
So I'm really excited that you're here because you've done it.
Yeah.
And so
You
you're going to
survived.
tell us. Yes. So you're going to tell both Shelby and I.
I don't know if
that
I've survived. I
that it
think
gets
I'm
better.
still in the process of surviving.
Like
But
my mom
ongoing.
says, you're in survival mode. That was my mom's explanation every single time we complained about something. I'm in survival mode. I have to get like a little like sound bite from my mom saying that, and it'll like jolt me back into my childhood.
It seems like something you have to survive. I mean, especially when they're little, when they're crying all
You
the
don't
time.
have a choice. You
Oh
just
my
do
God.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to hear.
You could run away.
I want to hear both their stories. And Shelby, I know from back in the day, we were roommates, and our lease was up 1 year, and we ran off to Europe. We tried to move to live in Europe.
we tried.
We tried. We gave it hell. We tried. We exhausted all of our resources, and we came home a little after 3 months.
Somebody's phone is ringing here, so we got to turn somebody's phone off here. Everybody's going to be
It's not me.
tweeting, and somebody's going
might
ding,
be
ding, ding here or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah. So So that's where I know Shelby from. We came home from Europe, and we both got married and had babies. So that's where we know each other from.
Where'd you go in Europe? Real quickly, somebody wanted to know.
We tried to move to Ireland.
Oh, how cool is that?
It was very cool. It was very cool. I moved with about $4,000. Shelby had a little bit more than me.
We went through it too fast.
Too fast, yeah. Well, because we were trying to find a job, so we're moving through Ireland, who's not even hiring. They're in a tough spot right now. They're not hiring any of their own people, let alone us. They're like, you can leave. By the way, yeah. By the way, we got stuck in customs. We entered. We flew to Ireland on a one-way ticket, which apparently you can't do.
That's confidence just to go there one way.
They did not like that. They held us in custom for an hour asking us. They wanted to know how much my parents made, what their jobs were. They wanted to know if we had a printout of our bank accounts proving we had enough money to make it home. They wanted to know where we were there, what our next destination was. They wanted a letter from my boss explaining that I had a job when I returned home.
Oh, my God. Welcome to Ireland. Yeah.
Oh, my God. They were out of control. I was like, it's not like you guys are that desirable outside of like the cool drinking opportunities. And the people are amazing, but it's like, dang.
So we lasted there, what, 3 weeks? Maybe a month?
I feel like we were there for a month.
Okay, maybe a month. And then we went to London.
Uh-huh.
And we found a cute little hostel.
Long-term hostel. Yeah, it was the Queen Elizabeth.
You stayed with Queen Elizabeth?
We did, yes. Royal in the Palace.
Okay. All I had to do was
luxury.
Just smile and tell her a joke.
And how long did you last in England?
2.5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. We lived at a long-term hostel. We lived there and worked there. So there was a pub downstairs. Her and I got a job. I was just explaining this to Julie earlier. We got a job there. So we were doing laundry. We were cleaning bathrooms, which is awful. I was a legit immigrant. Like
you were living the reverse immigrant experience.
Oh
right?
my God. Like, yeah, I honestly, if I can say anything about this experience, is that I have so much appreciation for anybody who's just visiting. It's so lonely. It's so scary. Like I had, Shelby that was like a sister to me, but we fought like, because we were so scared.
Sisters.
Yes, we did. We were so scared. We were so tired. We didn't know what tomorrow was going to bring. And, we took it out on each other. And it really was the coolest experience, but it's not as romantic as it sounds running away to Europe, but I would not have changed the experience for anything.
When did you decide that's it? When you ran out of money, or you
basically?
Yeah.
Well, yes. I figured. Oh yeah, and then we came home. But the reason why we went there was because I realized that I had, slept with enough dudes. I had partied enough.
Oh my goodness!
I had dated enough.
Wait a minute. Let me replay the tape. Did she just say what I think she said?
Yeah, like I had done it all. I felt like I had done it all, and I was like ready for the next stage of my life. And I realized that while I have no mortgage, no children, no one to answer to, I don't owe anything to anybody. I wanted to do one more thing for myself before I started my next chapter. And I pitched it to Shelby, and she was in, and I was really surprised.
Which was what? What'd you do?
I said, why don't we throw all our shit in storage and try to move to Europe? Let's see how long we last.
Oh, I see. Okay, right. Yeah.
Even the mannequin went into storage.
Oh, yeah, we had a mannequin that I took. I used to work at South Coast Plaza, and I took a mannequin out of the trash can.
I'm not sure I want to know why, but okay.
Her, I thought it would be really cool decor for the house. So we used to dress her in lingerie. Katinka!
Katinka.
We named her Katinka, and every single time we had some kind of a party, people would dress her in random shit they found in our closets.
Your other guest is ready to leave. She's just so shocked by what you're telling me.
I'm sorry,
I don't
Julie.
know. I have some stories. Well, I think my mom might be watching, so we'll keep those.
My husband's aunt, I call my aunt because I love her so much. She listens to a lot of them, and so I always just shout out, say sorry. But,
She's sworn to secrecy. Can't tell anybody any of this.
It's fine. You got to be who you are. The family will love you for who you are.
Yeah.
But from my experience, when you lie, you're just in a whole world of shit. So just be honest. So,
wow.
Anyway, so that's how we know each other. Okay, so.
And how do you know your other guest?
So.
She just picked me up across the street.
Yeah,
I did!
Over cocktails.
I think so,
So
yeah.
Julie is a friend of my close girlfriend Desiree. They went to high school together, and I posted that I was doing a show on multiples, and my sister couldn't make it because Julia has swamped with work, and she feels terrible. And it just so happened.
And she didn't even want to think about talking about multiples. That's really the answer.
She had an anxiety attack, and she wanted to be in a cold, dark room.
Yeah, right.
So Desiree had saw that I had posted I was going to do a show on multiples. She didn't even know my sister wasn't going to be there. And she said, if you need anyone, my friend Julie is the best. She's so sweet. And I said, hit her up and see if she'd be interested. And it worked. I told her, we gave her a day's notice, and her husband, can I say what he does?
Yeah.
He's in law enforcement, and it wasn't going to be easy for her to find a sitter with her triplets and her husband.
No, who wants to watch 3? Are you kidding me?
But her husband had the day off, and so it was perfect. Everything lined up perfect. So here we are.
All right.
Yes. So I'm going to let you two have a conversation. I'm going to let you guys talk to each other. I don't have much to say.
We're just going to drink and listen and shake our heads a lot.
I don't know. You might
questions.
actually have more drinks once we start talking.
I know. But you know what? My husband has a vasectomy, so I have nothing to fear.
Oh, okay.
This is probably going to scare all our listeners.
No, I like it. You need to be honest. People need to be. I'm as honest as I can be, so that it's not so much of a shell shock that of having children is. People romanticize, which having children is amazing. It's beautiful, and I love them. And if I had to redo it, I would. But people need to be honest, so that you don't have those
hard.
moments where you're crying and you're sad and you're frustrated, and then the worst case scenario pops in your head as, I'm terrible at this. I shouldn't have done this.
Right.
I'm trying to prevent that from ever processing through your head by being as honest as
So
I can.
before you start, I just got to ask you one quick question. I want your quick reaction right off the top of the head. Don't think about this.
Okay.
When you both found out that you were having multiples, first reaction?
I was excited.
You were? Okay.
I cried because I was so happy.
That's awesome. But you know what?
But I have a story behind it, so
Okay.
that's why I was that way.
Yeah.
So for me, I mean, it was shocking. I cried, but probably more out of fear than
nervousness.
excitement. But I also had a hunch because I had been really sick really early in the pregnancy. So the idea was already in my head.
Yeah.
So when they told me it was
there's
twins,
got to be something crazy.
I was
going on.
like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So-
Were you sick?
No, so I
Wow.
wasn't sick. I knew really early on.
Really?
Yeah, I knew at 6 weeks I was having triplets.
Oh.
Dang.
They
And
told you that, or you guessed that?
Well, I did infertility. So for me, it's anybody that's done infertility knows there's an entire process. Like you essentially go to the doctors every so many weeks and you get tested and you get blood work, and then they tell you you're pregnant, and then they give you a number, which that number tells you the level of your, I think it's HCG level.
Yes.
And mine was through the roof.
Okay.
And I was,
You're like, okay, I'm
was
pregnant with a litter.
I thought I was having twins.
Okay.
And I was convinced I was having twins. The third one was what surprised me, but I never was like, oh my God, why me? Oh crap. I just was like,
Yeah.
I was.
And doesn't in vitro increase the chances of multiples? I've read that. I don't know if that's true or not.
Definitely. You know, there's Clomid. She could have had triplets. I actually.
I think it's 20%, right? Chance?
Mine was.
No, you did IVF.
I did IVF, but I've had friends that got pregnant with triplets off of Clomid.
You're lying.
No. Yeah,
Hell,
that could have been you.
Lord have mercy. I would have given one to my mother-in-law, one to my other mom, and kept the other one.
And one to be in Ireland, right?
Dang.
So, all right. So you actually were happy. Now, you said there's a story. Why? Tell us the story.
So, like I said, I'm married my high school sweetheart.
Oh.
We
How romantic.
No, I love hearing that.
I was 16 and he was the same, and we just kind of we met, we knew somehow, I don't know what it was, we just kind of met and we kind of knew this is who we were supposed to be with. We we moved in together at 18, we both, the odds were against us, you know, people were like, you're going to drop out of school, you're never, and we
High school
just,
sweethearts never work out. I mean, that's just the
and
general assumption.
that was
right?
actually what was told to us, like, you guys are not going to end up together, what are you doing? And we were just so motivated, and we told each other, okay, we're going to go to school, we're going to get careers, we're going to get a house, we're going to have kids, and that was what we did.
So you guys were still living in reality.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you were like, nothing can break this love bond.
Oh, no.
You know, you guys were raising each other still.
Well, we were living in back homes, we were living in the ghetto apartments. I mean,
Making it happen.
working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, going to school full time.
Yeah.
And my husband got a huge break with the department he works at for now, and I actually graduated college, and I was 26. We decided, okay, it's time. We're going to start trying to have kids. Now, my husband's family's Italian.
Mm-hmm.
We're Mexican. So I thought, oh gosh, I'm
In
gonna
the
get off.
bag.
Yeah, like we got this. Like we're not gonna have a problem. We're gonna, we're gonna pop them out. Oh gosh, no. It was year
We're
one.
gonna pop 'em out
Yeah,
here,
year
okay.
2,
Yeah.
year 3, year 4. And it just, the longer you go, the harder it gets. And then
Yeah.
you start wondering, like, why, what's going on, what's wrong with me. So finally, my doctor, my OB said, you need to go see somebody. Because she did what she could.
Somebody
And
other
then-
than me.
Yeah,
Go see somebody.
essentially. And, I mean, we did test after test, and everything was...
So blood test, and then you
everything.
do the HSG, right?
Well, they did, like, they checked my ovaries to make sure there was nothing blocking it. I mean,
What is that?
his-
Is that procedure is called
Oh, my
HSG,
gosh.
right?
You know what? I can't
It's not.
remember.
So HCG is the pregnancy hormone.
Yeah.
HSG, I think, is the
It's
procedure.
a really long name. I'm sure if somebody
Well, I'm
out
sure
there
those
knows
are the-
it. Yeah.
I don't know the actual name,
But,
I
they
did it
throw
too.
dye
Yes.
in your ovaries.
So that's one of the things you're going to
Yeah.
have to do if you're trying to get pregnant. They essentially throw your whole
Yeah.
your whole reproductive system under a X-ray.
The X-ray,
And then they
push
throw
some
dye up you, and if it leaks out the sides of both your fallopian tubes, that means they're clear. If they don't, it means you're not getting pregnant because something's blocking
Yep.
it. Okay, so
And here's what
continue.
And-
HSG stands for. I'm not even sure I can say this. The word's got 52 letters in it here. Hysterosalpinogram.
Oh.
Or hysterosalpinography.
It's a really long something along those lines.
Sounds awful. Okay,
It's
so
really
continue.
long. So I was good. My husband, he
Yeah.
got checked. He was good.
Same
And
here.
they came back and they said, you have unexplained infertility. Which a lot of people have told me, well, at least there's nothing wrong with you. But in reality, that actually makes it worse because there isn't anything wrong with
There's
me.
no-
So
yeah.
why am I not
Yep.
getting pregnant?
Yeah.
Well, how'd
and
you feel?
then-
How'd you feel when you hear this? Say there's nothing.
It was awful.
It's devastating.
I feel like you have people in your ear all the time and they're telling you, and I think it's out of, they're trying to be supportive, and it's like, well, at least, you don't have this.
They don't know
or
what to
you have
say,
that.
so they say something dumb.
And
I'm one of those people. It's true. I'm one of those people. Sometimes I'm like, well, whatever the fuck comes out of my mouth, and it's not comforting. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna go away now.
So you
but
have nothing wrong with you.
nothing
Don't
wrong
feel
with me,
bad,
yeah.
except you can't get pregnant.
and as
Yeah,
a
right.
woman, you're, I don't want to say it in this manner, but that's what you're meant to be pregnant and have kids, and
You're like, why can't I do this?
why
You're
can't
the
I do
biological
this?
part that's
yeah,
supposed to
like,
do this.
Is it
yeah,
me?
right.
Is it me? And then
Right.
it became a guilt. And then we got referred to an infertility doctor who was amazing. We did a year of infertility. We did 5 or 6 procedures, and we had miscarriages, and we had failed
wow.
procedures.
Oh
And
man.
anybody that's done infertility knows how unbelievably expensive it is.
My
We were
girlfriend's gone through
just
it.
we were maxed in every
Yeah.
way. We were maxed
Yeah.
emotionally, mentally,
Physically,
physically,
yeah.
financially.
Ugh.
The last procedure and I was never a big egg producer during my IVFs. So it's like I would do an IVF and I would have a bunch of eggs, and then the closer we got to the retrieving the eggs, which is when they finally take them out, it got less and less and less. So I would
Oh,
have
my
like
goodness.
4 or 3, and then they would take those out. And
Disappearing
then
eggs.
Yeah.
Right.
And they would take them out, and then they would say, okay, now we have to see how many grow, and then we implant those, and then it could be 1 or 2. So the final one we did, we had 4, and we had 2 that were like, my doctor's like, we have to do these. Like, these are really like top notch. We have one that's kind of on the fence.
Top-notch eggs, huh?
And
Grade A.
And he asked, he's like, is this it? Like, are you guys done? And we knew. We're coming into this last IVF cycle after miscarriage. And I kind of was a little disconnected.
Yeah, you have to be. It's defense mechanism.
I told my doctor and I told my husband, I said, this is it. Like, either this is going to work or it's not. We have to figure out how to live our life without having kids.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I mean, that's just, I appreciate you sharing this because that's very
Yeah.
emotional, obviously.
So
And-
it was very hard to go into it that mentally that way, and I
Your
think
last
it was I was
shot.
protecting my heart.
Yep, you have to.
And so my doctor said, we can do 2. What do you think about doing 3? And I looked at him and I was like, well, what are the chances of all 3 taking?
Girl, I don't give a shit. Do it.
He said less than 3%.
Wow.
Yep.
Dang.
So I said, screw it, put all 3 in there. Put all 4 if you want. I don't
Yeah.
care at this point.
Exactly.
But the 4th one was kind of like, we weren't even going to mess with that one. And then so he put all 3, he put the 3 in. and
They all took.
they all took.
Dang. How scary of a pregnancy was that for you, though, at knowing at any moment, you know?
That was the other thing for me, was it was very, I didn't enjoy my pregnancy
Because you're scared.
because I was scared.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this earlier, people saying, oh, I wish I could be pregnant with twins, or I wish I could have had triplets. I think it's easier to say, but when
course.
you're in the moment, it's high
So
risk.
many things that go through
Well,
your
if they
mind.
consider it a high risk.
Right.
I had to go to the doctors every 2-3
You do
weeks.
the fetal monitoring.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had to go to a specialist every 2 to 3 weeks, and then the weeks I wasn't there, I was going to my OB. It just was
Stressful.
exhausting and
Yeah.
stressful
Mentally.
and everything. It was why, when I start feeling them, why is somebody, they're not moving? So then you're sitting there and it's like, okay, am I moving too much? Am I walking too much? Am I doing too much? Am I not doing enough? And
Exactly.
it was just, I didn't enjoy it because I was
the
worried
unknown is too scary.
the whole time.
Yeah.
And then
Here
three
we
little
are
three
today.
little faces popped up. What have you got? Two.
I can say I had the most amazing high-risk pregnancy I could have asked for. I had no health problems. I got really big.
I did too, and I had one.
But
How big? I mean, just roughly.
I was almost 200 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it was
I-
easily over that.
Because you're very. You look very tiny right now. I mean, you don't look.
Well, thank
Well,
you.
damn it.
It's been about 5 years in the making to get back, but
God, you look adorable. I can't wait to be that little.
but
How
As
many
I drink
weeks
this.
were you when
I
you
delivered at 8 months.
Wow.
That's a good.
And you have what? Two. I'm
I
assuming.
have,
I'm assuming
so
two.
my babies are 4.5. They'll be 5 in September, and I have 2 girls and a boy.
I was going to ask you that, but I wanted to wait for
Yeah.
this moment.
They are my life, and
That's
my
so
boy is
crazy.
the oldest. And when I found out I was having 2 girls and a boy, I kind of was like, kept telling the doctors, I said, please make sure that he comes out first.
Oh,
Wow.
I love
He
that. So
has
he could be
to-
the older.
Well, I'm extremely I'm very vocal, and I'm very out
too.
there. I figured my daughters would be the same way. I wanted to give my son one up. Like,
Yes. Yeah, it makes perfect sense
Yeah.
because you can tell him his whole entire life now. They're your responsibility because they're the oldest.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, I love that. I love your story.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you
that's
for
my
sharing
story.
that.
And I hope you share this story because what a powerful tale to tell kids someday when you're screaming at them and they're screaming at you. Say, I fought for you guys to get here. I want it. Some people just
Don't
get pregnant.
Be an asshole. I did everything.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yes,
Wow.
I
What an amazing
agree.
story.
thank you.
Yes. All right, Shelby.
Top that, Shelby.
I know.
No, you.
I'm not going to be able to top
Yes,
that.
you can. Okay, I don't mind.
But so my husband and I got married in August of 2016, and I told him I'm ready to have kids, so it's on you to prevent it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing my part anymore.
I'm ready.
And
You told him this as you're getting married, right before, right after?
I mean, probably not right before because he may not have been at the end of the aisle, but at least right after.
Yeah.
And
How did he react? What did he say? What did he say? Was he shocked?
I mean, I'd been pretty vocal, in our whole relationship.
Yeah.
I wanted to have kids. I mean, we were together 5 years before we got married. We traveled. We were
So the
in our
conversation
30s
had
and
come up.
yes, and I mean, I think we were ready. I was ready, and so that was so. I don't think it was a total shock to him. So, needless to say, I found out in November that I was pregnant.
Wow.
And so it didn't take long. And then, like I said, I was really sick from the start. The idea was already kind of in my head. Gosh, I wonder, if there's more than one in there because I don't feel very good. And at 7 weeks, my first ultrasound, they found 2 babies.
Ooh, that's
And I broke the news, and I don't think he spoke to me for a couple of days.
They internalize a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was
not-
his way of processing,
Yeah.
and
He didn't know you're that ready.
so you're right.
She's all, I slid him 100. The doctor.
And I mean, we got through those first several weeks after that, and things looked great. The doctors all felt everything, looks so great. And so, I mean, we announced to my family, our family, at Christmas time, which, is about like 9-10 weeks in, which is a little early to announce, but, it was Christmas, and I just didn't know how we could get through the holidays without
Anyone need a top off?
me.
Yeah.
I'm going to need a lot more booze listening to this show.
Yeah, well.
So,
If you're not fixed, you should be in trouble. Keep going.
so,
I'm better than fixed. I'm old.
So pretty quickly they sent me to, a specialist. I started seeing, the perinatologist. They were doing,
What's that?
it's a high risk pregnancy doctor. So, they were doing regular ultrasounds and blood work and.
Were you as nervous as our first guest here? Were you thinking, this could not turn out the way I hoped here?
I don't think so.
She's a really easygoing person. She wasn't worried about anything, even when her babies came out early. She's like, you know what? They're doing great. I'm like, okay. Next conversation.
I mean, from the moment I found out it was twins, I did research, so much research. I mean, I spent hours online reading books. I mean, reading, blogs and other people's stories. I mean, talking to anybody that I could, and I felt really good too. I never felt like it wasn't going to work out. So,
any of you guys ever known twins or triplets? Have you ever had experience with?
There was triplets in my elementary school. Identical. It was the craziest thing.
Identical
Nina, Gina, and Christina.
Trina, yeah.
Dude, it was crazy, and they're beautiful. I think they're like half Vietnamese and half Mexican.
Wow.
Beautiful little things.
I actually babysat twins when I was like high school, college. So maybe I was just destined. I do have twins in my family.
That's supposed to be a big part of it. That's
I think so.
Genetic component.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I felt ready. I felt like we were prepared. I was prepared for it. And I had a really good attitude towards it. And I think that helped. But of course, I don't think you're ever prepared for.
So we're going to take a break.
True.
You gave us the stories. You said you're both prepared and happy. Now I want to hear the reality. We've got, now we're going to get down into the.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the other side of it here. Hang on. We'll be right back as we talk about multiple kids. Can you imagine? All right, I got to read this commercial, so hang on. All right, let's be sure and do a shout out to one of our sponsors here. Today's show has been brought to you by J-Dub Design, socially designing what you dream. Everyone has an idea of what they want their brand to look and feel like and how they want to communicate to their community. J-Dub Design can make it happen. Whether an idea is presented on a napkin, through pins on Pinterest, or simply taking it out and pulling it out of a magazine or talking it out, your vision, your dream can become a reality. That's what they do. Utilizing the most popular trends online and the latest programs for design, J-Dub Design will help you build, create, and sustain your digital community. You can dream it. They can do it. J-Dub Design. All right, here's several women that dreamed a dream. And
would you like a martini?
I'm good. No, I'm good. All right, so I want to hear about reality now. Your mothers of twins and triplets.
All right, girls, you guys are gonna talk amongst yourselves. You gotta tell me what this is like.
Well, I think your story's not done. So.
Wait, so the story is never done.
No, it's not.
So my kids actually came at 27 weeks.
Yes.
So about 3 months earlier than they should have.
Yes.
My husband was actually out of town working in Cabo San
Yes.
Lucas.
And
Do you know why they came
tell
early?
us- Oh,
My
yeah.
water broke. So
Do you know why? Do
you know,
ever know why?
so it's really interesting. No, I don't know why. I had been to the specialist on Thursday, and he told me I don't like what I'm seeing. Cervical length, yada yada. Not liking it. I need you to start taking it really easy, or I'm putting you on bed rest. And so I went to work
I
on
like my
Friday. So I went to work on Friday. I told my boss, and she was like, "You're not moving. You're staying at your desk." And so I had a super light day. I came home.
So is that next day?
So the day after I saw the doctor, took it easy at work. Someone brought me dinner that night. I mean, I basically didn't move. Went to bed. 1 o'clock in the morning, my water breaks. And
You gotta tell them what you told me.
what did I tell you?
She was like, I thought, that's it. I lost it. I peed myself.
I did. You know, I mean, because I was awoken by, you know, that, and I thought I had just peed, you know, uncontrollably, and I thought, well, okay, I've read about this. This is just what happens. This is the next level. I'm wearing diapers from here on out.
Every mom listening right now 100% understands that. So
They're like, God damn it.
So I go to the bathroom and it's just not stopping. I call my mom and she's like, I knew in the back of my head what had happened. Now, I'm not fooling myself, but there's that level of denial. It's too early. I'm not ready. And my mom was like, you have to go to the hospital right now. So I go. I'm like, don't come up. This isn't nothing, And so I go to the hospital.
You told me this story the first time, and I was like, all right, keep going. But this is so crazy.
They admit me. They give me a bunch of medication that is supposed to stop the labor, and they say you're just gonna hang out on the 5th floor until as long as we can keep those babies in. 7 hours later, they were born. Damn. So my mom wasn't there because I told her to stay home. Sorry, Mom. My husband wasn't there because he was out of town.
Tell us what your husband does.
He's a boat captain, so he was in Cabo working on a yacht. Lucky guy. And
he got a call. He's all, what's that?
Well, so I called him.
Turn off the blender.
I called him before they were born, and I said, I just want to let you know I'm in the hospital, but that's no problem. They gave me a bunch of meds. I'm just going to be here for weeks and weeks.
It's so crazy that your mind works like that.
Don't worry.
I'm jealous.
Don't hurry home.
Oh, no.
And
Sorry,
then
I would have been like,
get
your ass here right
Dude,
now.
I am forever the damsel in distress. Any reason possible to get Brian's attention, I will milk until the cows come home.
Get your ass on that little lifeboat and get back home.
Yeah, like I mean, unfortunately, there was no way for him to even get home. It was.
I know,
it was
but
like
I would have
6
at least
o'clock
liked
in the
to make
morning.
him feel bad.
Yeah. I don't want him to feel bad. It wasn't his fault. There was no chance.
Right.
Even if I had called him at 1 o'clock in the morning, there was no way that he could have gotten home in time. So they were born. I called him. I said, "Hey, Dad." And he knew immediately that they were here, and he was on the next flight. He got there, that day earlier.
Could you imagine that conversation with the whole crew on the boat? He's like, "Hey, my wife just had twins, so I gotta go."
Gotta go. Yeah. So, needless to say, they spent 2.5 months, 10 and 11 weeks in the NICU. And I mean, I feel like there had to have been some kind of level of shock and denial because
somebody wants to know what size they were. I mean, so they came up prematurely.
Yes, they were 2 pounds 6 ounces.
Oh my God.
14 inches.
Oh my God.
Very tiny. They were like meat, skin and bones, and there was no fat on them. They were very. The funny thing is they were very red. Like almost like tan. And I even said to one of the nurses, I was like, why are they so tan? And I realized now because they had no fat. It was blood. I mean, you were basically seeing, they had nothing between the blood that was flowing through their veins and their skin. And so they, of course, in the NICU, they fattened them up and, they got wider and
you
wider.
pumped around the clock and provided breast milk.
I was a slave to the pump.
You're a boob slave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except they weren't breastfeeding; it was just the pump.
Yep.
But I mean, I'm really proud of the fact that the entire time they were in the NICU, they were on breast milk.
You were at least able to be there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If you could.
That was the only thing I could do for them. And so
that's how I felt.
That's what I did.
Having a normal delivery because I had an emergency C-section and I couldn't get in and out of bed by myself. And Brian was the mom. All I could do was just nurse and then pee on myself. Keep going.
So I have to ask you, I can't believe I never thought of this. You've now got multiple little mouths to feed.
Yeah.
How do you crank out that much breast milk for? It's hard enough. My
Never
daughter
thought about that till now. Yeah.
Well,
my daughter struggled producing enough for one. You got to produce for 2 or 3. Yeah.
So my babies are 4.5, all of them, give or take a couple ounces. And the same thing. I thought, man, there's so little. And what triggers me now, because do you have triggers? Do you ever have
Oh, I have
think
crazy
so.
triggers.
I have
Wow.
triggers now.
This
and-
whole show's a trigger, right?
So people will have, my friends will have kids, and it's like I'll go visit, and I'll hold a baby, and I all of a sudden it's like I have this just like trigger of my babies, and I'll think like, so my babies were small, your babies were smaller, but I think your kid's 6 pounds and or 7 pounds, and he or she's so light. And when I was holding my babies, I thought it's like a feather, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, they were so tiny. And I never thought they're so little. They just seemed little until I hold somebody else's baby.
Yes.
Then you realize,
And
yeah.
then I realized, man, they were really small. I mean, now they're huge and they're thriving. They're doing amazing.
Right.
But I breastfed for 2.5 months. And
Yeah, that's as long as I did.
I can honestly
mine.
say mom guilt was the worst at that point, because everybody puts it in your head.
Of
You
course,
have to breastfeed.
of course.
Like breast milk, like you have to breastfeed.
I agree.
So I always thought the perfect pregnancy, you have your baby, your one baby, you feed them, they fall asleep on
Right.
you. I never got to do that. I was like a cow.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
was
literally,
like
yeah.
it literally I was. And if I can share a personal story,
course.
sorry,
Of course.
I think I had a moment like one of those like where I'm looking at myself moments. We got home from the hospital. I only had one of my babies in the NICU, and she was in there for 1 week, which was so hard. So I can't even imagine. Like it's so hard.
She created a diary or a journal about it. That was the only way that she could have, kind of internalized everything.
I cried every
Yeah.
day because I had to be home with 2 of my kids, and then one of my kids was not there, and it was just like my family was so good because we just like it was like shifts. And when they all came home, my mom, my mother-in-law, myself, we were at my house, and I think my husband was there, and I was sitting on the sofa.
Do you think? I can't remember. There's so many people. Yeah, right.
And I had a baby on the right boob, a baby on the left boob.
I wish your husband got a picture of that.
Yeah.
that stuff.
I had one of either my mom or my mother-in-law. It was my mom feeding the other one, and my mother-in-law was shoving food in my mouth. Not shoving, but she was
Yeah, she's
feeding
trying
me.
to feed you.
you.
You have no hands.
And I was
Oh my
sitting
God, I would
there-
give anything for a picture of that. I would put it on my own wall. I don't even care who you are.
I was
Like, that's
sitting
beautiful.
there thinking, this is not my life. This is not my life. Like how, like I'm, and so I'm feeding, and it was like, okay, switch. And it was like literally like,
Yeah.
move this baby.
rotation,
It was
yeah.
a rotation, and I'm sitting there, and then because the nurses told my mom, my mother-in-law, my husband, she needs to eat. You need
Yeah.
to make sure she
Yeah.
eats. She needs to eat. So it's
Because you
like,
got to produce. You got
Yeah.
milk that's got to.
I honestly, I would love that picture.
and
Cause that's, yeah.
It-
I don't know. I can't say enough
well,
about
I don't
that.
have
I love
many pictures of myself that first.
I don't have many pictures of myself, period.
Period.
I know.
Husbands.
But you guys,
Yeah.
I read something on Facebook that like totally broke my heart, because like I was telling Julie earlier, we met at a restaurant before we walked over here. Like you struggle to lose like the baby weight, and you just don't feel good. Like the bottom line is you don't feel good. You don't feel like yourself, and you don't want to be in pictures. But it scares me. One of my girlfriends lost her mom really early, and she doesn't have a lot of pictures because she said her mom never liked her weight in her pictures.
Exactly. You talked about that before.
Yes. Yeah, Charlotte, she told me, that her mom never was photographed, and she doesn't have anything of her mom. Like a
So her
handful.
mom robbed her of those future memories, or it could
So,
be because of her
yes.
self-conscious.
Yes.
I don't want to be in a picture.
So because of, the
Yeah.
aftermath of like the stress and everything going on, you don't want these pictures, even if it's not just your weight. You're like, are you taking a fucking picture of me right now? Or you think this is all fun and games? So continue.
So, 2 months after I started breastfeeding, so they were 2 months exactly. It was Thanksgiving. We were at my mother-in-law's house, and I had to go in the back room because somebody pooped themselves. I was hungry. I can't even
Yeah.
tell you. Threw up on themselves. And my husband's aunt, who I'm really close with, walks in the room, and I'm bawling. I'm crying. And she's like, are you okay? Can I help you with anything? I'm going to move this back a little bit. I lift up my shirt, and I said, what's wrong with my boobs? My left one was
Huge.
enormous,
Yeah.
and my right one was ridiculously small. And she's just like, she starts laughing. I start laughing, and I said, I'm done. I
Yeah.
said, go get me some wine.
Yeah.
I'm done. I
Yeah.
can't do this anymore. I'm sick. I've lost 50 pounds. I think I'm going to end up in the hospital. I can't do this. I would rather be alive and healthy than force myself to do something because society tells me I have to do it.
I 1,000,000% agree with you.
Yeah.
I never connected with breastfeeding.
Nope.
Ever. Not even emotionally or really, none of the above.
But I had major mom
connected.
guilt over it.
You know what? At the point where I'm at, and I'll make this fast because you guys both have your stories that I really need to hear. I feel like if you focus on what you're not, then what naturally comes to you as a mother it suffers. Okay? It gets left behind. And so what you are both good at, other people suffer at. Like, people struggle to be your natural good. And you are focused, myself, I'm focusing on what I'm not. And just be what it is you want to be. And that's it. Because if you use whatever fucking energy you have left, like stressing out on what you're not, then we're all shit. You know what I mean? Who cares? Like, when it comes to breastfeeding, it's very personal. It's very intimate. It's just, you got to do you, and that's it. You know?
So when the kids were in the NICU, I pumped and I took it to the hospital, and I mean, we ended up buying a chest freezer for our garage because I was producing so much more breast milk than they were eating.
Awesome.
I mean, but they were eating like milliliters.
Yeah.
Like, we were measuring how much they were eating in milliliters.
You could have had like a lemonade stand. You could have been selling this stuff. Yeah.
So I mean, but the nurses and everyone was like, "Oh, you're doing so great. You're producing so much." The minute I brought those kids home, it was just like, down to nothing. I mean, I was still, I didn't have time. I did not have time to pump, and I'm.
And if you don't use it, you lose it.
I'm a little like bummed out that I wasn't told when discharging to just put them to the breast, because they were bottle fed.
But Shelby, even
the
that,
entire time. And I mean, no, I don't feel guilty about it. It's just like, yeah,
you would have still been a boob slave all fucking day.
Sure,
Absolutely.
but I think my supply severely decreased because
and I'm not discouraging
I
breastfeeding.
tried to pump in the moments that I could, but in those very early days, I mean, I basically brought home newborn babies at 2.5 months.
Yeah.
So in those early days, they sleep and they're awake, and they're sleeping and they're awake, and it's like I never had a chance to pump, and so I was pumping couple times a day at most, and it was only a couple of weeks in that I was like, holy moly, I am losing all of the supply that I have frozen. I'm not making as much as they're drinking. I need to start just putting them right on. I think I double breastfed twice. I couldn't, I was home alone most of the time.
Me too.
And I couldn't figure out how to do it by myself, how to get them both on by myself.
Yeah.
The couple of times I did, my husband was there, he helped me. I got one on, he brought the other one, that sort of thing, but I couldn't do it by myself.
You know about breastfeeding too? Those titties are not in the best condition. Okay, they're not in the best condition, and I don't want anyone that I'm supposed to have sex with looking at the shape of these titties.
Oh my! Did she just say that? I can't believe this.
Oh my God!
She's right.
You know what? These are not sexy boobies. They're not. They're mom boobies. And whether
I like that, mom boobies.
My husband saw all kinds of boobies, but it doesn't. I know it doesn't. Not supposed to matter because they're your husband or whatever, but. I don't know. It was a really hard transition from
But what you're talking about is
mom.
beyond. You've talked about guilt before. My daughter went through it. She only has one child, and she struggled breastfeeding and finally gave up.
Yeah, I was just saying about like having your husband help. I'd be like, yeah.
Well,
this is weird.
I'm trying to save the husbands right now. I'm trying to get off of that.
Continue.
And I just can't imagine if you've got 2 or 3, or some people even have more these days. Oh my God! I mean, woman was not meant to breastfeed multiples at once here.
So my husband.
Well, they say that's why you have 2 boobies, which is a weird thing to say. Continue.
My husband, who is amazing, I just want to say that, he took 3 months off of work.
Wow.
He was able to save up all his time off in the first, 2 or 3 months, whatever. Sorry, babe. And so
it's all blurred.
It is. The first year was a complete blur.
1,000,000% agree.
And when he went back to work it was 3 months, sorry, because it was January when he went back to work. I had to figure out how to do it all by myself. And that means getting up to do 2 feedings in the middle of the night by myself. That means getting up in the all day long by myself. I was very lucky in the sense that my mother-in-law was at my house 2 to 3 times a week in the morning for a few hours. And then my mom would come for a few hours after work a couple times a week. But it was always that fear of, why do you have to go home? Why are you leaving? Like,
don't leave me. Right.
I had that exact feeling with one.
Like,
when my family stopped showing up, I was like, you guys can't leave me with this baby.
help.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah. But when I would wake up in the middle of the night, because they're still feeding in the middle of the night, I mean, it was like I would set an alarm, I would get them and I would wake them up because we were on scheduled feedings. And that was the one thing with multiples that I was told from the very beginning. And I don't know about you, but it was like consistency and scheduling. Have them on the same schedule. And be consistent. Like, they all sleep at the same time, they all feed at the same time, they all eat at the same time. To this day, my kids eat at the same time, sleep at the same time.
That's amazing.
And
how long did it take you to get that schedule?
I sleep trained.
I did too.
What does that mean, sleep trained?
Sleep trained. So, sorry.
You say that like everybody knows. I never heard of that.
So I basically
rode the sleep train. Right.
I basically did the Ferber method, where you can look it up if you want. I'm not going to explain it. But you basically allow them to self-soothe, okay? So you can create a bedtime routine where you do the bath, the book, the whatever. You put them down, you rub them on the belly. Mommy's here. I'm in the living room. You know, you're going to bed. It's sleep time. So you can check on them in 5-minute, 10-minute, 15, 20-minute intervals if you want. However, I can't tell you that I did that. They cried out. So it's really hard. It's basically a 3-day process. The first one, I think the baby cried for 45 minutes, and I have 2 kids. So they might cry for 45 minutes, and the next night they might cry for 30, and then the next day they cry for 20, and then the next night they cry for probably 10, and then so on and so on. I would rather have 3 to 4 hard days with a spouse that supports you and keeps you from going back in, you know, without saying you're not allowed to, without saying like it's your call, but you can do this, you know. You're not supposed to wait by their door and listen to them cry. You know, you can start with nap time if that helps, and you can go out to the front porch, make a phone conversation, have a cocktail, talk to a friend, answer emails, do whatever. Don't like sit there and torture yourself, right? Yep. Anyway, it's basically 4 days to torture, and after that you have a lifetime of a normal sleep pattern like an adult.
We did 12 hours by 12 weeks, adjusted because my kids were born a little earlier, so you have to adjust by age, and it's similar. It's you cut out middle of the night feedings, and then you cut out this.
After 3 months, according to your doctor, they don't need to be woken up in the middle of the night to feed, unless they're preemies, and then
you adjust by 10 months.
I was going to ask you too about that, so you guys can answer that because I don't know anything about that.
I wish I had known this, because when my daughter was born, she and her boyfriend at the time, but husband later, moved in with us. And so my wife was there, and that was the reason my daughter eventually, in all seriousness, had to move out, because she and my wife fought continuously over this question: how long do you let them cry? And my wife is of the old generation; they should never cry. And,
what?
Oh yeah, never cry. No child should ever cry. And my daughter would she'd try sitting outside the room, and then she felt bad, and then my wife would go, "Well, you're not going to let them keep crying." And then, oh my God, where they're fighting. And I'm like, would you girls just figure this out?
No, I have to give my pediatrician the biggest high five.
I'm obsessed with mine, so I feel you.
She told us, we went in, and she said, no baby has ever died from crying.
That's what mine said. Who's your pediatrician?
She's in Diamond Bar.
Okay, keep going.
And
should we give her a shot? Let's give him a shout out here.
Her name is Dr. Jabaji.
Okay.
And
mine's Dr. Valerie Kozak, and I just want to creep up on her house and sleep with her at night. Keep going.
Yeah, Dr. Jabaji in Diamond Bar, and she told us no baby has ever died from crying. Nothing's gonna happen. I mean, obviously there comes a point where you're like, okay, if your baby's puking,
learn your baby's cries. You know when they're scared, when they're annoyed, when they're tired,
hungry,
when they're,
you
know their cries. If this one's squealing, you're like, oh shit, what's wrong with him? Maybe he had a bad dream, you know?
And the other big thing that she told us, and I'm a little off topic, but when we started feeding solids, she told us, if you go to India, if you go to Mexico, if you go any other country, they're feeding their children what they're
What
eating.
you eat, yes.
You do not need to do 1 week of this.
No.
She said.
Mine said the same thing.
You give your child what you're eating. Your kid.
By 9 months, she goes. She should be eating whatever you're eating.
Everything, and that's exactly what mine said. My kids are the best eaters.
Yeah.
Because, and I thank her for it, because
Yeah.
I said, okay, here you have it,
Yep.
and we're 7 months, and you're eating turkey and beef and chicken and this and that.
And they'll definitely choose which ones they like better than others, but I definitely, I am better at it with my second one than I was my first one, you know, that I will take it away if they don't want it, but I don't give her any substitute. I don't. Even she's one.
You guys
she's
are
one.
hardcore, man. I thought everybody's got
So
it easier.
I
I
have
wanna
a
hear
little
that.
different because I actually had a friend who is a new mom
Okay.
of twins. Baby's born in February.
Okay.
Valentine's
new
Day.
baby. Oh, I
Yeah. She texted me yesterday.
Okay.
Asking about schedules. Do I wake them up? Yada yada. Do I feed
Yeah.
them the same? Do I not? You know. And I said, I did that at the start. We were on a very, you know, in the NICU. Again, 2.5 months, they were on, 8, 11, 2, 5, 8. You know, I mean, they were on a very strict, like they didn't feed them 30 minutes early or an hour later because they weren't awake or whatever. They woke them up, they fed them. And
they have to be structured. They're taking a bunch of them.
They have to. They
It's
have
hard
to
get them
because that's
unstructured
their
because they
job.
always change. But
Yes. But, we brought them home and I was very stuck on that schedule. And my son we called him Mr. Grumpy Pants because he was
Rebellious.
so upset all the time. And about a month into being home, I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna feed him when he's cranky. I'm gonna put him down when he seems
all about
tired.
the constant feeding. I am. It's not good, but I don't care.
He is the happiest kid ever.
When he's being fed?
Always.
Oh.
He was hungry. He was hungrier than his sister. He needed to eat more than his sister. And I was like, you get 52 milliliters at 9:30. I was just so
Interesting.
structured. And so I told her, I said, I did that for about a month. And then I had a really grumpy kid. And I just started feeding him when he was hungry or when he was upset. And I let him sleep when he slept. And I realized my kids are individuals.
Yeah.
I
know.
One needs
the
more
hardest part of
sleep, one
parenting,
needs
honestly.
more food.
It is.
And, as little babies, that worked. I would have one that would sleep through the night. It wasn't always the same one, but I would have one that would sleep through the night and another one that would wake up. And I started just,
That's good to
oh,
know.
one of them's awake, and I would wake up and I would go and feed them if it was, 2 a.m. and they'd go back to sleep. And the other one might sleep through the night, or they might wake up at 4 a.m. and that's when they were hungry. And I found that to work for us as a household where everybody was
That
a
is
little
my
happier.
parenting style, is what works for you and your husband.
Absolutely.
A lot of people out there that are like, my children are my world, and I'm like, I don't want to hate on that at all, but what works best for me is what works best for my husband and I and the family as a household.
Well, what's going to work best for us because we're at the end of the show.
Well, we got a
my
couple
goodness.
minutes.
So
2
I'm
minutes.
I'm just saying this.
Won't get
We
outta
should
here.
two thoughts. One, you should bring these girls back because there's so
I was
many
gonna ask
issues
you,
they didn't
right?
ask.
Multiples volume
Would you
2.
guys both be interested in coming back?
Oh, my
We
goodness.
have
Yeah.
spots in June where we can do a multiples part 2 because we
I
just
think
talked
we
about
need to
pregnancy.
talk about
Yeah,
Because what
I
I
want
want-
to
Talk
hear.
about
Maybe
after.
topics. Or
I
something.
really, I really want to hear about what happens, like, when they're out and stuff. Okay, so
And I want to hear about when one's crying, don't they just wind up all the others? And so you just got one to go to sleep
You
and the
think
other one comes
so?
awake. Yeah.
well, I
think
was
so.
telling Shelby, I was like, hey, are your cribs on wheels? So if one of them cries, you can like wheel the
Oh
other one
my
out
God.
because she bought mini cribs, and I just really thought
We
that
had
would be...
mini cribs too.
Yeah.
You did? Oh my god, I
But we
want to
had
hear
3.
about that.
We had a tiny room, and
Yeah.
I told
We got
somebody-
people tweeting. They got 100 more questions here. You just
man.
Would you
We'll
guys
be back.
Would you guys
Yep.
be down to come back
Yep.
in June?
Yeah.
Okay. You can pull it off? Okay, well, I'll be texting you guys both. Thank you so much for sharing everything. I wish we
you.
had more
any
time.
takeaway? I'll give you one more takeaway. One takeaway. One quick reaction. What would you tell anybody? Twins, triplets. What's your reaction?
I wouldn't give it back for the world. It's awesome.
Same, and it's a lot. It feels like you're gonna be like, oh my gosh. It's like people tell me all the time, oh gosh, like I'm so sorry, I'm so this, I'm so that. It really is an amazing experience to be a parent of a multiple, and they have built-in friends for the rest of their lives.
Boy, I never thought of that. Yeah.
And for yourself as a parent, it's such a unique experience, and you learn so much, and you learn so much about yourself and your patience, and you grow unbelievably.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
it's hard.
It is hard.
It is not for the birds, but it is really rewarding.
Absolutely.
That would be what is in it for me.
Yeah.
Julie and I were talking about the fact that our kids start kindergarten soon, and I have to worry about a single baby girl, and she
fills up the kindergarten. Yeah, right.
well, yeah, but she says she has the same worries about her kids not making friends, but she has friends.
Well, I never thought of that.
I'm so jealous about both of you guys having that sibling that's like, if one of your kids come home and says, you know, this one's being mean, you can tell your other one and be like, you see this bitch? You get her! So thank you guys so much for being here, and I'm going to have you back whether you like it or not.
We'll be back.
And I'm going to put it on my webpage, and so if you don't show up, that's just my way of bribing you. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers. Welcome, everybody. It's time for another episode of CRM Radio Today. Taking a look at the latest and greatest in the ever-changing CRM space today and tomorrow. With our host, the host who knows the most, Jim Obermeyer. Hey, Jim.
Thank you, Paul. Paul Roberts is our announcer for all programs on the Funnel Radio channel. Our program title today is Why a Service Agreement Between Marketing and Sales is Needed. Seems like they work together. They work independently, these sales and marketing departments. Their work should cross operational lines, but it doesn't in many companies. There's a lot of talk about teamwork, but in many organizations, that's all it really is talk. And yet to reach a company's revenue target, they must work together. Our guest this week is Chris Ryan, founder and CEO of Fusion Marketing Partners. And he will tackle the importance of a defined, in writing, hand on the Bible service agreement between the two departments that are sometimes better known as squabbling siblings. Chris Ryan has 25 years of marketing technology and senior management experience and is widely known as an expert in B2B marketing, lead to revenue modeling, sales strategy, and business startups. As both a service provider and an in-house marketing executive, Chris has written 4 books on marketing and information technology, including the recently published Winning B2B Marketing. Chris, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to be here, as always.
Well, a few weeks ago, we had you on the program, and we were talking about things such as who owns the pipeline. And in that process, you mentioned this service agreement between sales and marketing, and you promised you'd come back and we'd talk about this, because I noticed that you talk about this on your website, you make a big deal of it, and I'm sure this is what has led to your successes through the years. So let's get right into it. And what do you mean by a service agreement between sales and marketing?
Well, that's a great question, of course, to start off. A service level agreement basically is taking what, in a lot of cases, are expectations or unstated expectations between what marketing is going to do and what sales is going to do, and then, most importantly, what the joint results from the two efforts are going to be, and quantifying them and putting them in writing. That's why we call it a service level agreement. As is, when you buy software or you have, let's say, you lease a software program, we call it software as a service or cloud software, the vendor provides a service level agreement that says we will guarantee you an uptime of a certain percentage so that you know the software isn't going to crash and leave you hanging with without the application at your company. Likewise, we need a clear statement between the two groups as to who's going to do what and when and what the outcomes are going to be. So that's basically what a service level agreement is.
Does this service agreement include things such as number of qualified leads, number of total inquiries, revenue, leads to revenue, that leads that turn into revenue, follow-up? Yeah. Is it different for different organizations, or is it pretty much boilerplate?
Different for different organizations, but I'll give you some of the things that are included, a few that you mentioned. One, the number of inquiries, which, by the way, the sales force doesn't care a lot about. They care about the number of leads. So you may have the number of leads required, when they are to be delivered, so at what point they're going to deliver. So it's not the marketing department has one massive campaign and gets all the leads for a year in one campaign. They need to portion them